Deforestacion group. We're from Colegio Menor Quito, here in Ecuador. My name is Colegio. This is Amalia and this is Aura. And we'll be talking to you about a common environmental problem that is occurring in the South American continent. And during every transition, we will please ask you to come to the front of the classroom, take one leaf, read what it says, and you can comment about it, question about it, but we need you to take back the leaf with you.
I just wanted to explain to you first the way why it was made the tree. It was made of bottles and all recycled paper of our school in 1 week. Only 1 week, and it was really hard work, so they didn't do it. It's not like
So, first, trees. Trees appear to be really simple organisms, but actually they're complex. They are sources of life, of water, of oxygen, protection, of nutrients, of food, and even of shade. Trees have certain characteristics that make them unique. They have roots that prevent floods from happening. They have leaves and trunks that prevent or reduce 50% of the disturbing noises coming from urban areas. They can be shade for organisms. They can be a food source for us, and they can be a home for others. For human beings, they're a sign of a high-quality life because they have a social value, and that's why we're blind of the social value trees have. And this is the cause why we kill them. The sense of anthropocentrism we have, meaning that we think that we are the center of the world, that everything around us is ours, is the cause of an environmental issue like water deficit, but mostly, in this case, of deforestation, which we have divided into categories, such as where can we find the space for living? That's why we cut down trees. Where can we get the money for our human need? Or where can we get the food to get warmth or to cook our food? This is a funny picture about anthropocentrism. God creating Earth. We are the jerks. Earth being put on Earth. And so when did anthropocentrism really become visible in the American continent? It all started when the European colonizers settled and established their economic and political and social systems in the country during the early modern era. After these new nations were created, the people began to ask themselves, why should we not be independent? We should get our development. And this is the case of Ecuador in around the mid-1800s, after it became independent of the Gran Colombia. And it became the #1 producer of cacao. First, I should clarify that Ecuador is and was a monoproducer, meaning that it produces only one product. Also, it then became the producer of banana, of oil. Chile became the producer of copper, Colombia of coffee, and Costa Rica of banana. So the cacao boom starts in the 1820s. It was really in a small scale around the 1900s and the early 1900s, but it became strong around the 20th century. And as I mentioned before, the economic, well, the word boom, it says everything. The economy was at its peak, and the main reason was that the workforce moved from the central part of the country, the Andes, into the coast, and people had more jobs in this area because plantations were in the coast. There was also an internal market, usually in the city of Guayaquil. The population increased drastically from a 50% to a 42% of the Ecuadorian population was concentrated in Guayaquil. And also, there were more products being brought from the United States, such as beans from California. And finally, here we have a picture of the beans. Oh, the picture of the beans, they're really colorful, beautiful. They have a lot of aroma. And the train. So the train was implemented or finally constructed in the 20th century, early 20th century, which helped move products from the Sierra into the Costa. There was more unity of the country in terms of ideas, of cultivation techniques, moved from one area to another. People could move easily. Here's another picture of the train. And so when do you think deforestation actually takes place? Someone want to answer?
of the economic boom, maybe?
Yes. During the process, as plantations were occurring, and as people moved and they needed more space, deforestation occurred, but actually it happened in a drastic amount as in the 1940s when the train was constructed, because more money was needed, more fuel was needed for the train, so deforestation was drastic. And it was the introduction of the eucalyptus trees to the country by the President Garcia Moreno. And that's when the cacao boom falls into a crisis in the 1920s.
Okay, so the cacao crisis begins in 1920s. The problem with this was that, as Nicole already mentioned, is that people moved from the Andes to the coast, and they weren't employed as normal people. They were employed as a feudal system used. They were employed as serfs and vassals. So the money went to the rich families that owned the land. Another problem that happened was that World War I occurred, as here mentioned. The commerce of cacao lowered itself, so there was not enough demand, and the land used for cacao was destroyed because of a plague that occurred at the country. And now we have banana. But before this, we want you to stand up, stretch a little bit, remove all those bad energies of all the day, and take a food. And if you want to